The Arizona Cardinals continued OTAs without Jacoby Brissett and Josh Sweat again today, but we hear from their head coach, Mike LaFleur, his thoughts on the absences, plus from Budda Baker and Gardner Minshew. Is it time to just give Gardner Minshew QB1 duties? And the latest, how Jeremiyah look? How did Carson Beck look? We're breaking it all down right now. PHNX Cardinals. Fired up live from Studio A. That's right, no Studio K today, even though we love our friends over at Circle K. A little bit of subdued live, but still an electric show on tap for you. It's PHNX Cardinals. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Hit that like button. What's going on, friends? Steven Jackson, Shaft lighting up with his supporter emojis. Burnt Marble too. Yep, yeah. Alberto, I see you. David Burrows. How about we got Daddy Rabbits? Love that name. Tej, Voss Louie, Bad Spike, Mondo Maker. You got Joey, Z-Man. Everybody getting in, being seen to start this thing off, which is going to be a pretty key day here as far as the offseason training and activities continued out in Tempe for the Redbirds. Sans Jacoby Brissett again, sans Josh Sweat, but we get info from some key players like head coach Mike LaFleur. Would he trade Jacoby Brissett? No, not Brissett. Sweat. Sweat's got the trade rumors swirling, not so much Brissett. Brissett's just straight up holding out. Of course, we got to hear how our favorite first-year players looked on the practice field. You'll get updates on Jeremiyah Love. You'll get updates on Carson Beck. And here's what I loved about today. Not only did we get to catch up for the first time with Gardner Minshew, and we'll get into whether or not maybe should Gardner Minshew just be QB1 as Jacoby Brissett is holding out for more money, but also we learned a little bit about what the Mike LaFleur Arizona Cardinals offense is going to look like. Budda Baker breaks it down from the defensive standpoint. He had some interesting things to say that you need to hear. Plus, we had Gardner Minshew. He always, when he talks, you want to hear what Gardner Minshew has to say, how he describes Mike LaFleur's Arizona Cardinals offense. So hang tight. We also are going to be joined by the GM himself, Espo. He's had some thoughts on Southwest bias recently, and with Johnny being a giant child out at Disneyland, he'll front that it's because of his kids, but he's out there because he's a full-on Star Wars nerd and he wanted to get on the Millennium Falcon again, even though he might be banned from that ride at this point. He's not here, and we're going to have some fun with our guy Espo. Can't wait to do that. But a lot of sights and sounds from the facility today, and just kind of getting into it as far as the absences, excused or not, and LaFleur is going to kind of how he would describe them. There was no Brissett. There was no Josh Sweat. There was no Paris Johnson Jr. That was kind of a surprise to everybody. We didn't see, of course, Walter Nolan again, but we know, as Walter Nolan told us just a couple weeks ago at the Mack Wilson charity celebrity basketball game, he's aiming for training camp. We saw a couple key players coming back from injury that remain sidelined but working out during these OTAs, and James Conner and Trey Benson and Tip Ryman. Those guys are all on the grass but not practicing. So it's a welcome sight. We continue to follow along with Sean Murphy-Bunting in his return to the playing field after unceremoniously missing the 25 season due to an injury that happened away from the facility. He continues to be in the nickel back role, kind of fill in as Garrett Williams is poised to miss quite a bit of time, I think, in 26. So it's really interesting, and also seeing where some of the pieces might be fitting. As it stands right now, I'm not going to go into what things went like when they were going 11s. That was actually the closed portion of the practice. But as you start to think about how do some of the new pieces fit in, the rookies, I'll say this, they continue to be kind of eased into this process. Like this is not going to shock anybody, but I think Jeremiyah Love is the guy that is getting, the best amount of reps in practice compared to the rest of his rookie class. I would call it a light day for Carson Beck. There wasn't it wasn't one where Carson Beck was showcased by any means. He was just kind of part of the quarterback trio that goes in the order of Gardner Minshew without Jacoby Brissett, Keaton Slovis, veteran, and then Carson Beck, who is a little slow going out there, but we got to see him warm up, and you'll get to see for yourself some Carson Beck highlights along with Love. But Chase Basantis, another guy that I think is getting eased into things. And then you've got some free agent additions like the left guard spot. You've got Isaac Semanalo, who's out there. And I think it appears to me at this stage in the offseason, and I'd be surprised to see any kind of pivot from this, that Isaac's going to probably stay at his familiar left guard spot. And then you're looking at, as it stands right now, Isaiah Adams holding down right guard duties for the Arizona Cardinals. And could it be his job to lose? Does he have a firm grip on it? I wouldn't say by any means, because they utilized the 34th overall pick on Basantis, and he's going to make it up to himself to become undeniable and work his way into it. But that's where some of those early budding position battles are starting to go. And as far as the running back room, and another kind of crowded room, Algier, Love, and then you're starting to see a little bit Bam Knight. And I said with Connor and Benson, those are guys that are working their way back, not on the practice field with the rest of their teammates. Biggest kind of headlining absences. Let's get back to those. Jacoby Brissett not there today. Second round of OTAs, now 5 practices without Brissett. Everybody's well aware of what's going on. It's a contract holdout. It's a negotiation that's going on, public negotiation, as you see kind of a back and forth, right? And it kind of started when the Arizona Cardinals did their pre-draft and they were unwilling to name Brissett the outright definitive quarterback one, despite the reports after Gardner Minshew was signed to this roster and the team didn't really do too much at the position after releasing Kyler Murray, that Brissett was going to be the guy. And he decided, hey, if I'm going to be default QB1, I need a raise. The Cardinals started to kind of play this game and wouldn't name him that. And then as we go forward, the team is trying to kind of backtrack and backpedal a little bit so that, Brissett can't use that as ammo to really vie for that pay increase. But, I mean, as it goes, he's not there. You're going to hear from LaFleur. LaFleur is not overly concerned. His comments on Brissett were very in line with where they were last week, where if it was a first-year player, if they had some sort of issue getting a guy like, let's just say, Carson Beck in the building, and he hadn't seen the game speed, from his standpoint, from his vantage point, that would be the biggest issue. Brissett's now got 10 NFL seasons under his belt. As far as schemes, he's played in basically every single one of them, and there is no kind of true urgency from Mike LaFleur's standpoint to have Brissett in the building. Would he prefer it? I'm sure everybody would prefer it, but that's kind of where they are right now. And then Josh Sweat, with the news kind of coming via Jordan Schultz yesterday that teams were calling on Sweaty J. What was the Cardinals' answer going to be? What was their kind of response going to be to that? Would they oblige one of these teams calling and entertain offers? There was kind of I wouldn't read too much into it. There was a guy that was, I don't know, cosplaying as an NFL insider or reporter throughout this offseason, has checked in on the Sweaty J conversations and thrown around things that I think are probably viewed as speculation or trust me bro type sourcing, followed up today saying like the Packers and the Eagles and another team were on Josh Sweat, where I don't know if I would take that with a grain of salt. As far as his head coach goes, let's hear from Mike LaFleur and just his response to the absences today from Cards OTAs.
No, I mean the few guys that weren't out there that you guys probably saw today, very much we knew, that they weren't going to be here, and a lot of it was planned ahead. I mean, shoot, I don't want to put it out there, but one of them just, had a baby, stuff like that. So, good for him. Paris, and that's one right there that we knew well ahead that this was going to be a day. Paris is absolutely fine.
Some people wanted to figure out where was Paris, why was he not there. Paris, fifth-year option picked up on his deal. That's locked and loaded. Up next for Paris Johnson Jr., it's going to be a lucrative extension. I don't think that and Mike LaFleur obviously didn't allude to it. No, I don't think anybody should jump to that conclusion. I don't expect any kind of push on that extension getting done because I think there's confidence from all parties that that's going to happen. Just sounds like Paris Johnson Jr. missed voluntary workouts and he had an excused absence. As far as the higher profile ones, let's get into the Josh Sweat standpoint. He was straight up. Mike LaFleur was asked by Theo Mackey of AZ Central Arizona Republic if the team would consider trading Josh Sweat. This was LaFleur's answer.
Is open to trading him if those offers
come in? I don't even read into the offers. I don't look, and I'm just excited the fact that I don't have to game plan against this guy. I got to know him when I first got this job. He's a good dude. He goes about his process, and he's not the first guy to go about his process the way he is in terms of how he's training and all that. I've been around a lot of really good football players that have done this. But like I said, I'm happy I don't have to game plan against him.
Doesn't sound like much to me. Could Josh Sweat want to find his way to a team with higher expectations in 2026? That's maybe my take on it. Obviously, my co-host Johnny Venerable has it sourced that Josh Sweat knee-jerk reaction to Jonathan Gannon's firing was he wanted out of Arizona just one season after he signed a 4-year, $76+ million deal. Does Josh Sweat want to stay with a team that is likely to struggle in 2026, or does he want to get back to where he was in Philadelphia, where they were consistently in contention? I'm sure that's and also be paid handsomely. But as far as are they going to reach a contract stalemate? Is Josh Sweat never going to report? Just from the little that Mike LaFleur said in his answer doesn't seem like it to me. Is he going to try to do it and see if he could get something going on the business end of this thing and find his way to a contender? But will he at the end of the day report for mandatory, potentially for training camp? I would expect so, especially when you start to see money removed from people's pockets. It just seems like it's one of those, hey, I'm going to see if I can maybe leverage my way out of here. Otherwise, I'll be a good soldier and report to the team. I mean, this is, as many people point out, voluntary. It's still the calendar still reads May. We're not even in the June portion of this thing. And to hear that there's been contact between LaFleur and Sweaty J since he took over this position, that to me is a very good sign that there have been conversations between your top sack getter and your head coach, and it hasn't just been, well, I'm going to take this job, and when you report, that's when the communication will begin, and I'm going to stay over here, and you're going to stay over there, and I'm just going to respect the business side of this thing, where it sounds just from one answer about Sweaty J and whether or not the team would entertain that LaFleur has a decent relationship already with him, and I'm sure, I mean, LaFleur, as he jokes, like, he's glad I don't have to game plan against him. I know that's kind of a little bit of a, hey, look over here. Here's a funny statement. Let's get away from the serious conversation. but he knows that the Cardinals defense, if they truly want to rebound in 2026 from a horrendous 2025 where they get up a franchise record 488 points, Josh Sweat's got to be here. Like he's going to be the guy that's going to get you quick pressure off the edge, that's going to be able to help out a defensive secondary that is young and needs to take a gigantic step forward and needs the pass rush to complement the coverage standpoint of things. So that's where LaFleur is with Sweaty J. As far as where he is with Jacoby Brissett, as I said, very similar to where it was a week ago. Hear it from LaFleur himself.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it'd be hard-pressed to see if Jacoby hasn't done most of what we've are doing physically, you know, and so it's just kind of, it's word association from that point and cadences and all that kind of stuff. But the hardest thing to teach a player is the speed of the game in the NFL game in general, and he's played a lot of ball, so he'll be just fine.
This is where we continue to be a little bit still in the good faith portion of negotiations, even though, you know, Weinfuss is reporting, and I trust the reporting, that they're significantly far apart, Cardinals and Jacoby Brissett. There still remains like good faith in the standpoint of when Jacoby Brissett returns, he'll get back to what was reported earlier this offseason by the flagship radio station that he'll probably resume QB1 duties, right? And it's based on like who gives them, and it might not be a lot, the best shot to run, you know, good offense, right? And people can push back. Snarks can say he went 111, it's garbage time or whatever. But as you look at this quarterback room as it stands and an unproven 65th overall pick, and we all want to see that. It's the shiny new toy. And you got Gardner Minshew, who I think a lot of you are going to like even much, maybe even fall in love with when you hear from him after his press conference comments today. Jacoby Brissett has a solid rapport with your top playmaker in Trey McBride, your top wide receiver as it stands right now, Michael Wilson. It was starting to, I think, find something in Marvin Harrison Jr. before he was hurt by several different nagging injuries last season. I think Jacoby Brissett would return to his spot despite, you know, fan base just move forward. Like they have no appetite for a holdout, where the organization is in a different standpoint. I think they're confident as far as where they stand in negotiations, and then they can get Jacoby Brissett if they do give him an incentive-laden contract bump, or if they give him just a small bump, that they would get him back in the building and they could just get back to business where they left off a little bit, hopefully with less losing in 2025. What is a Mike LaFleur offense actually look like? Plus how Carson Beck and Jeremiyah Love looked. And as I said, Gardner Minshew, you're going to hear from him. And you're going to probably say, hey, I really like this guy. Maybe the Cardinals, they just outright pivot to Gardner for the time being and let him be QB1 going into the 2026 season. We're going to get all into that, all coming up next year on PHNX Cardinals. Hit that like. It's nearly that time. Yes, World Cup is coming. That's right, the 2026 World Cup. And this summer, it's going to be insane. Not only do we have Cardinals football, but we got all the soccer matches coming here stateside. And Michelob Ultra is riding with the U.S. men's national team the entire way. You got to love that type of patriotism from Michelob Ultra, the best tasting light beer you can find, brewed right here in America. And Ultra says that the same grit and grind it takes to get Team USA to the biggest stage in the world is brewed into every beer too. Gotta love that mentality. I'm hyped to watch the U.S. men's national team take on the world in the World Cup. It's just like the fourth quarter at State Farm Stadium. That's right. It's going to take some big-time plays from the boys in blue. Whether you're watching with your friends or your family, or your fellow diehards, make sure you're doing it with a Michelob Ultra. Proud sponsor of the U.S. men's national team. Official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer. St. Louis, Missouri. Also got to tell you, the best way to manage your energy bill. How can you lower your monthly energy bill? Let APS tell you about it. Let's talk about it. In fact, APS.com/let's talk about it. APS budget billing. It's the way to go, friends. Your payment averaged out over the years, so you pay about the same every month. So no matter the season, it means fewer surprises. Higher bills in the summer, lower bills in the winter. Not the case here. You got a consistent payment that you can know about going into each and every month. That way you can budget for the big things, like maybe a new car, or just keep that budget on track on a monthly basis. How can you lower your monthly energy bill? Go to APS.com/let's talk about it. That's APS.com/let's talk. Don't miss out on that. Love it. Thank you to all our partners. Hit that like as we return here on PHNX Cardinals. As I said, our guy Espo going to show up here right at the top of the hour. We're going to continue this conversation, and you're not just going to hear me drone on in a mic. And I know you guys might get tired of that, but I appreciate everybody who's tuned in so far. We're going to get a look at how the Rooks looked, and you'll see some Gardner Minshew. I believe you'll even see some Marvin Harrison Jr., MHJ out there catching some passes. Saw a sick, nasty one-handed grab from Smith Marset today. Saw him get some action out there, some good run, a guy who's primarily going to be used in special teams. Secondary as it stands right now, as I mentioned, Sean Murphy-Bunting playing the nickel role, working out with some safeties. Rabbit Taylor Demerson playing alongside Budda Baker. And then you've also got, I think, a bunch of options as you start to look at the return soon of Starling Thomas, who I think is still working his way back from the knee injury, not on the practice field yet. But you've also got a trio of young corners that I think the fan base thinks that there's still potential in, especially Will Johnson. You start there. I think he's CB1. And then you look to who gets the CB2 honors. I've got the feeling that Max Melton has worked his way back in the good graces of this coaching staff, mainly defensive coordinator Nick Rollis. And Budda Baker was talking about today that Nick Rollis has made some tweaks to this defense and has mentioned, it's people say little tweaks, 488 points, maybe needed some bigger tweaks. But with the exit of Jonathan Gannon, who was also the other defensive mind and part of that brain trust, he exited. Nick Rollis is making where it's bigger. It's scheme he's made tweaks on, and it's as far as how they practice things and how they deploy things. It's all from Budda Baker's mouth as far as what Nick Rollis is doing a little bit differently to kick off his tenure with Mike LaFleur. But I wanted to get into real quickly what LaFleur's offense was going to look like because we got a little bit of a breakdown. I mean, it was detailed by Budda. It was detailed by Gardner Minshew. And I want you guys to hear this because it gives you some pretty good insight about what it could be. Because when we've talked to LaFleur about it, he's like, hey, we're not going to be Matt LaFleur's Green Bay Packers. Or we're not going to be Kyle Shanahan's 49ers. And we're not going to be Sean McVay's Rams. We're going to be the Arizona Cardinals, and we're going to take from the little bits and pieces and create our own identity. Early on, what's that look like? Let's hear from Budda Baker first from his defensive standpoint on what the offense looks like.
Oh, man, it's Rams 2.0, 49ers, a little bit of old Seahawks, a little bit of everything. What stood out is Mike's ability to get certain matchups on certain positions and kind of exploit that. So he's been doing a great job. It's a lot of different stuff that you're not really accustomed to seeing in an NFL-style defense, but everything kind of looks the same, and you got different factors here and there, different player personnel that he does a great job of understanding their positives. And, of course, having Trey McBride as a tight end, he's doing all the things that number one tight end in this league is doing. So just being able to, have all those weapons, you can do anything, and he's been doing a great job.
So he came out of the gate saying it's Rams 2.0, as much as you want to run from where you just came from in LaFleur. And I think he's got a lot of pride in that, but wants to kind of etch his own style out for the team that he's getting his first crack as head coach for. He doesn't want to just be in Sean McVay's shadow. There's a lot of things he's bringing from Los Angeles. And then Budda says the Niners, and then he says some older Seahawks, which kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I mean, is he talking, the old Russell Wilson Seahawks, like when they were consistently atop the NFC West standings and finding their way to double-digit wins in the playoff berths and all of that. I thought that was interesting. Obviously, a run-heavy offense, right? It was anchored by beast mode back in the day. So be curious what Budda, what older Seahawks standpoint he's talking about. And then we heard it from an offensive guy, and this is going to be your first comments you're going to hear from Gardner Minshew. He kind of breaks down his description of Mike LaFleur's Cardinals offense.
Man, I don't know. In a weird way, like the air raid back in college, because this is the reason this does so well is it thrives off complementary looks and simplicity with the illusion of complexity through motions, similar formations. We really don't do a ton off each look, but just enough to put a seed of doubt. And the idea is that we're going to get really good at what we do. So that's been a blast getting in this offense. I think it gives the players a ton of confidence when, hey, we have these things. This is what we're going to do. It's your job to make it come to life. And I think we got the guys to do that.
Kind of interesting. So if you don't know Gardner Minshew's story, many do. He hit the scene back at Washington State after making his way through JUCO ball in East Carolina. He finds his way to the Cougars back then in the Pac-12, playing under Mike Leach. And Mike Leach, he was one of the innovative coaches for the air raid offense, which I think kind of took everybody by surprise today to hear that kind of reference or that comp. But I think he was more saying like, hey, it's got simple concepts with it that I think opposition and defenses view as complex. And the one thing that he did mention is like they anticipate being really good at what they do. But there's not going to be anything like they're going to reinvent the wheel offensively here. And that, like LaFleur is going to take bits and pieces from, where Hackett had his stint with the Green Bay Packers, and obviously his brother Matt LaFleur, and he's called some really solid offensive ball in his day, and working under Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, along with him in Atlanta at one point before making the trek across the United States, and then most recently 3 years under Sean McVay. Like what Sean McVay does, he does it at a very high level. There's not a lot of like smoke and mirrors to it. They've got their playbook. They run these plays and they run them at an extremely high level, and it's got a simplistic approach that is looked at and viewed as very complex, and the Arizona Cardinals want to master that. And you think about the quarterback position, like, are you going to have somebody that's going to be able to be the trigger guy for that? That's so key. But they've got the playmakers in place that I think are going to benefit from this, from Marvin Harrison Jr. to Michael Wilson. Of course, as Budda Baker mentioned, things are a little easier when you've got, this all-world tight end out there and Trey McBride. We're going to hear some more. You heard Gardner Minshew there. No, it was a surprise that he's a little bit of a surfer dude. You're going to hear some more of the personality from the Cardinals' current quarterback one. Should he hold on to that title? Our guy Espo is going to join me in just a bit. We're going to have the Minshew conversation, plus how Carson, Beck, and Jeremiyah Love looked out on the grass in this round of OTAs. It's all coming up, PHNX Cardinals. Hit that like button, subscribe to PHNX Sports. What's the Cardinals look like each and every week in the NFL season? Well, up on the board at Bet365. Not flavored in any game. Your Diamondbacks, though, should be favored a lot going forward. The Snakes are hot. And I'm all in on betting the MLB season right now at Bet365, where winning is everything. Download the Bet365 app today. Use the code PHNX365, and you're going to get locked in. And you're going to want to take advantage of some of the great things like your early payout options on Major League Baseball. You got the NBA Finals coming around the corner. How about, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs? Gotta love it. Download the Bet365 app today. Use that code PHNX365. It's Bet365, where winning is everything. Take advantage of the early payouts. Take advantage of all the options up on the board. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only. Also, when you win all that money, gotta have a place to store it. How about Mountain America Credit Union, the credit union that has the checking account with the built-in benefits you're going to love, friends. Check them out right now. Everybody needs a checking account. It's like death, taxes, there's certainties in life. Having a checking account should be one of those. You can't be just storing your money like, dig up a hole in the backyard and that's where you're going to keep your cash. Don't do that. Get Mountain America's My Style Checking. It's a checking account with built-in benefits that actually fit real life. Check this out. You get things like restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, even loan rate discounts. We can all use those, plus offers on travel and events. Sign me up for the, of course, Mountain America Credit Union My Style Checking Account. It's one account with a bunch of perks built in. Check it out right now. Visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Membership required. Some benefits require activation, and Mountain America's insured by the NCUA. Love that. Thank you to our partners, Mountain America Credit Union. Finally get those benefits you deserve with that checking account. Was Gardner Minshew, was he money today? We'll get into that. You're going to hear some more from the Cardinals QB1, and we're going to hear from our guy, GM1, Espo. He's going to join us here on the show. Let's bring him on, Noah. Noah, of course, behind the mic, making us sound and look so good. Espo, what's up, my man?
What's up? I figured we couldn't be in the same room since you're so used to doing these shows with Johnny Remote that I would go to my remote setup as well. I'm doing well, though. How are you?
Thank you for honoring my contract stipulation where I can't work in the same room as anybody. That was key for me to come over to PHNX, especially Johnny. It was mainly because I didn't want to be with Johnny on a daily basis. But we missed the guy, and I appreciate you joining me. You did a Southwest Bias, I think it was just yesterday, about Cardinals in kind of needing to have some urgency as far as the starting quarterback position, and just outright maybe naming one of the guys who are present for OTAs to help, just benefit and move this thing along. Did you check out any Gardner Minshew clips today? Did he persuade you any more?
Oh, well, when you see a guy playing in shorts, it does nothing but get you fired up for what they'll look like in September. Look, there's nothing that he's going to do out there on the practice field and voluntary OTAs that's going to get you super excited. I did like what he had to say at the dais today, talking with the media. There's an excitement about him in terms of going out there, and that's kind of what you want from a guy that's going to be just holding the position, keeping that seat warm until Carson Beck's ready to go. But I really tapped into my inner Italian and was like, no, just cut the legs out from under of Jacoby Brissett by naming a starter right now, because all leverage goes away. And at this point, really, you've got Jacoby trying to overplay his hand in a way that is kind of ridiculous for not even June. We're talking end of May right now, and we've got a guy who maybe will be QB1 for 5-6 games this season, trying to milk every dollar out of it when you've got Gardner Minshew that's sitting there that has similar, if not better, stats than Jacoby in his career. I'm done with the sideshow of it all.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. It feels like as far as sideshows and the circus being in town, it had a residency here in Tempe and Glendale the entire offseason long, and they just want to embrace this first-year head coach and the new pieces that came to town via the draft, whether it's Jeremiyah Love or Carson Beck, and say Manalo as far as the starting left guard, and then hopefully get this defense to rebound with all the investments that they've made in previous off seasons. I mean, I would give it a little bit more time as far as Jacoby Brissett. Like, I don't, and I definitely don't get the sense from Mike LaFleur like he's bothered by it. And I think he's got the feeling like, hey, we can get this offense up to where it needs to be regardless of when Jacoby Brissett strolls through that door. And nobody has the feeling like, hey, the savior is coming through that door either when Brissett arrives, but they feel like he gives them the best shot. I don't know. I think that they're going to allow Jacoby Brissett to continue this on, and you could call it a charade, you could call it a joke, you could call it, a bad move, because everybody sees it. You're all at the poker table. He's got his hand in front of him. He's still in it. He's trying to bluff for everybody, but everybody knows he doesn't have the cards. And I think like they realize there is an expiration date on this. I haven't hit that point just yet, but you've got you feel a little bit more so like it has.
I think it's ridiculous. Yeah, Mike LaFleur may not outwardly seem frustrated with it, but why like if you had a new boss, say I get let go tomorrow, you have a new boss on Friday, and you go, you know what, I'm not going to show up to work the next week because I feel like I deserve a little bit more cash. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. You should be there. Do what Michael Wilson's doing. Be there, say, hey, I deserve more, but I'm here because I know it's important to this team. QB1 is supposed to be the guy that people turn to. We heard the questions about Kyler's leadership. Is it really a guy that shows leadership by deciding not to be there when the new boss gets there? And I understand it's voluntary, but let's be real. These aren't really voluntary unless you have like a personal thing, like somebody misses because a baby's born, or there's a wedding of their brother, something like that that's excused. But to me, this right now is kind of ridiculous to me. If he were significantly better than Gardner Minshew, say it was just Jacoby and Beck and Slovis in that room, I think we're having a different conversation, because you need Jacoby Brissett to be in there at bare minimum to be that veteran leader. But you've got Gardner Minshew, who's essentially statistically the same kind of guy, a guy that's been around. So that's something I think we could do differently for sure.
I think we've done the impossible and found out what would be actually sadder than a Jacoby Brissett holdout, and it would be a Bo Brack PHNX holdout. If that happened, obviously, what you described, we wouldn't want you to be fired. But if I ever was like, I'm holding out, I'm missing shows, that's where it's just like, yeah, go find your Gardner Minshew equivalent, and let's just get him right in there. There wouldn't be any appetite for that one.
Well, I already called Jimmy G, and he said no, he doesn't want to post with Johnny, so that's part of the problem.
Said, I've retired. Please lose my number, and we're never doing that.
Yeah, no, he's like, I'm good. I don't care how much money you guys are offering. I've made enough.
Jacob, I think he nails it. Yeah, JV would hold out before me. I don't think there's any doubt. No, you get that. You're shaking. You're nodding your head.
Yeah. Not even close.
Hasn't
but
Johnny
it would be electric. At least it would be the biggest mudslinging public feud we'd all see. It would be super entertaining, and then sure, bridges would be burned, but we'd all have a good time along the way.
Yeah, it would be the saddest holdout ever if any of us did it. That would be pretty pathetic. But I certainly think that when you look at this quarterback situation, it's gonna be ridiculous. I mean, you didn't go out and find the solution, so you're looking at three options that are imperfect with it. Honestly, and I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but at this point, I'd consider just throwing Carson back to the Wolves, because either he's ready or he's not. He's gonna be 25 this season, 55 college starts. Like, you're not gonna get much more experience for him. And I get it; it's not the pro game, but still, if this guy's going to be ready, it's going to have to be this year. Otherwise, you're moving on, and Monti's replacement's choosing a quarterback next year anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of them in their own way, they give you a sense that they can be that bridge quarterback. And Beck, you say, hey, that might be his floor at the NFL. I mean, there's a chance he could struggle tremendously out of the gates, but he's shown at every level that he can compete. And that's, I think, how you would sometimes describe some of these backups in this league. They can go in there and they can be competent, and they can, operate your offense, and they're not going to go out there and throw 3 back-breaking picks and the game's over by the second quarter. I think Carson Beck, certainly provides that from the jump, and you just need to get him a little bit more acclimation time, a little bit more seasoning. And then Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett have been those guys for the bulk of their careers. Once it was it was vetted out that they weren't true starters in this league either. So, like, they're quintessential backups. That's really where you run into a Jacoby Brissett, is you've in-house got options right there and you're coming off of a 1-11 and 12 start performance, regardless of how you feel about the quarterback win-loss stat. It's just if he loses the first couple games of the season, it's 1-13, it's 1-14, it's 1-15, and it's just you can't continue to make up excuses for the guy out there that's quarterbacking this team, and it's not finding ways to elevate or win football games. And it's that's where I find like the biggest like turtle debate. It's like, why pay him anything? And I think they're willing to just at least entertain this and put on a smile as far as the Cardinals decision makers, Mike LaFleur included, during this time. And then once they've got the line drawn in the sand, they're not going to go past it as far as what they're willing to give, as far as whether it's incentive laden or if it's just the tiniest little bump, what they're willing to do as far as these contract negotiations.
Nor should they. I mean, I heard you talking yesterday about it, and if we're really looking at Jacoby wanting to get in that range of true starter money,
yeah,
sorry, it's been nice knowing you. It's
right.
only $1.5 million that's guaranteed you hit the bricks is kind of the way I look at it. Now, if he's being reasonable, he's like, look, I just want 3 or 4 million more guaranteed for this year. If you're going to start me, it's kind of laughable at what I'm at. That's a conversation I think is worth having. But if you're going beyond that for a guy that isn't even guaranteed to be a starter for any number of games this year, then I think it's ridiculous at that point. Now, I understand a guy wanting to get his, and that's okay. And a slight bump, sure, all for it. Thank you for getting your brains beaten out in 12 starts last year. We'll reward you a little bit for it. But if we're playing anything more than that, that's probably.
Yeah. Gardner Minshew, and you kind of had this inkling, right? When you see outside of just the horrors of him being the other quarterback option and Jacoby Brissett is the first, like that reality that set in when he was signed, like it took away, it robbed us, Espo, of getting to enjoy Gardner Minshew, because the character, the competitor out there, I think everybody, he's universally beloved. I was kind of shocked that we hadn't heard from Gardner Minshew up until today. I think he might have, at some point joined the flagship, but the fan base he's kind of been hidden a little bit. And just as expected, he's a guy that comes out, and I think the fan base, he endeared himself to them, and like it made it even easier. The idea of like, hey, if this Jacoby Brissett charade continues on just a second longer, just give Gardner Minshew the job right now. And like one of the things that Brissett at least could hang his hat on was he had the respect of the locker room. He's got obviously key playmakers from Trey to Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. But if it's not there and built and developed already, I think Gardner Minshew's fully capable of developing a similar rapport himself.
100% that I think he is. And those, he's likable. He's a likable character. And that always in this city buys you a little bit more time than other guys too, because there's something about somebody that's affable and a little kooky that Arizona sports fans gravitate towards, especially in a season like this where winning a Super Bowl isn't your goal.
Right.
You're not favored, as you mentioned, in any game. So what's the end game here? To be a little bit entertaining, right? And that's what you're going to get with Gardner Minshew, both for better or for worse. On and off the field, he's at least going to be entertaining.
Let's take a look at some of these Gardner Minshew clips we've got. Everybody knows that everybody's favorite backup quarterback likes to travel around and live in an RV. Here's Gardner Minshew breaking down his RV vibes.
Oh, man. Shoot, it's got 4 wheels and a bed, dude. We're ready to go.
He's got the McConaughey kind of Spicoli vibe all wrapped into one. But he can play that point guard distributor role if you needed to. And he's like as funny as a character as he plays at the podium. He's a guy that he doesn't like discount or cut any corners as far as his preparation for the game and like the classroom work that goes into it.
No, and he's had some success as a starter. Like that's the difference here between him and Jacoby. I think we've seen more sustained success from Gardner Minshew at times as a starting quarterback, and yeah, that's fun. It's all fun and vibes when he's talking about his RV, but we've also seen some of it on the field as well. But that feels like a slogan we're going to see on a T-shirt or a bumper sticker. If it's got 4 wheels and a bed, I'm in. You know, like that's. I feel like that's my attitude towards the Cardinal season this year. If
Right.
it's got 4 wins and a bed, I'm in. Is where I'm at right now. Let's pile in. Let's go. 4 wins, I'll sign up for it. And if I got a bed where I can sleep where it's boring at times, I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that T-shirt hitting the merchandise locker anytime soon, but I can't say it's not a good idea. Also, like somebody pointed out in the chat, he's all vibes. He kind of knows the score. He offered some good perspective of where he is in his career, and here's what he had to say.
I guess, man, it's fun to play football. You know, I think we forget that sometimes, and it gets hard and it's tough work sometimes. But man, it's awesome to be out here, to be 30 years old, my 8th year in the NFL, like being able to play ball. Like, dude, it doesn't get any better.
Dude, it doesn't get any better. I think I've pinpointed it now. Like, it's a mix between Jake Plummer, Matthew McConaughey, and Spicoli, all wrapped into one guy, and that's Gardner Minshew.
Do you remember the Titans, Sunshine, that quarterback too?
Yeah.
A little bit of that in there.
Oh, yeah.
As well. You don't like a guy that's just happy to be there sometimes too. Like that's what you want from a guy that inevitably will be your backup, whether it's to Carson, Beck, or Jacoby Brissett, where he's like, I'm just happy to be coming to work, guys. Let's do this thing. I got the RV. I'm going to go hang out in the parking lot after this. You want to join me? We can have some fun there too. But let's embrace the day. And I appreciate that from Gardner Minshew.
Should the Cardinals pivot just straight to Gardner Minshew? Plus, how did Carson, Beck, and Jeremiyah Love look today at OTAs? We'll continue on here on PHNX Cardinals. Love that from Gardner Minshew. Love this from our friends over at the Husband and Wife Law Team. If you've been in a serious accident, if you've had an injury, who you hire as your lawyer, it's so important. Do your research, and you'll land back on our friends over the Husband and Wife Law Team. Mark and Alexis Breyer, Phoenix locals who's raised their 8 kids here and built their firm around one thing, getting the best results for their clients. Check this out. Their team brings hundreds of years combined trial experience, and several of their attorneys are certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death. And here's why that's important, because it's a title held by less than 1% of lawyers in Arizona. If you've had a serious injury, if you've been in an accident, if you're close to a wrongful death and you need a lawyer for it, why not get specialists in that area? And the other big difference is they're real trial lawyers. They're ready to go to court. Plus, they'll promise that you'll receive as much in your pocket as they do in fees, and are even willing to lower their fee to make that happen. If you've had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team today, 602-783-8841. Check out their website, thehusbandandwifelawteam.com. The link in the show notes. Tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you. Speaking of friends of the show, Kim Caballero, our Kim Caballero Real Estate is what you're looking for if you're looking to buy or sell your home. Kim's been working in the Arizona business world for more than 25 years, and now she's helping Arizona families navigate one of the biggest decisions, if not the biggest decision of their lives. What I love about Kim is you're not just getting passed around to assistants or other real estate agents out there. When you hire Kim as your agent, she's your agent, and you are the sole focus and priority every step of the way. And this is what really separates her as well. She's got true connections. It's Kim Caballero's network from investors and builders and developers. She can help you spot opportunities other buyers and sellers just can't and don't have the network for. Whether you're trying to land your dream home or maximize your sale, Kim's got proven strategies that are going to help you secure the best possible deal. And check this out. Sweetener, if you're a PHNX Sports listener or viewer, May special continues on just for a couple more days. If you refer someone to Kim and they end up buying or selling with her, you'll get 2 lower-level Cardinals tickets to a game of your choice this season, $100 PHNX merch gift card, and a 1-year PHNX premium membership, baby. Kim and her husband, they've called Arizona home for over 25 years, truly understands the Valley, what matters most in choosing a home. Call Kim Caballero today, 480-489-5012. That's 480-489-5012. Tell her Bo, Johnny, Noah sent you. And Espo. Espo jumps back on with us for the next couple minutes. Hit that like button. Our like goal for today, 250. Let's get there. Throw it in Johnny's face. Say, like, hey, we can rack up the likes. We don't need you for that. And, of course, subscribe to PHNX Sports. Let's take a look at some highlights today from Cardinals OTAs. Our guy Noah put them together. So nice. You're seeing it thrice. 3 in our picture here. There's a little Carson Beck, little footwork, making Drew Aller look foolish there. Saw Daniel Jones doing some footwork on one Achilles. He looked better than Drew Aller. There's the head coach, Mike LaFleur, taking it in. A little Jeremiyah love for you. He's a pretty quiet day, but he worked in with several of the different units for the Cardinals. Gardner Minshew dropping back. This is him finding some Trey McBride. Some more Minshew mania here down the field to Marv. Little fake handoff. I love this drill. So they'll do the handoff, and then you'll have a coach just kind of pop the ball back to the quarterback. So it's a little bit of a play action fake / handoff to your running back. So both players getting some reps on that. But nothing really stands out to me there. Espo, I don't know if you were the true ball knower and like, hey, that's what was going on there. But I mean, pretty quiet day out there, and I'll reiterate that with Carson Beck. You didn't get a whole lot of the beckoning today out in Tempe.
I mean, look, this is like the dress rehearsal for a wedding when you're out there in shorts. Sure, is it nice that it goes well? Yeah, but in the end, it is no indicator on how the marriage is going to turn out, and that's what these voluntary workouts are. It's nice that they're getting reps, they're learning the system, but you just watched a play action drill where he threw it to the coach. Like, that's not like that was the drill. Like, we're not learning a whole lot about Gardner Minshew or Beck or Jeremiyah Love out there right now, but it's the repetitions that will continue to build that muscle memory that when they are out there in full pads, when they get out there in preseason, it'll be of a benefit. But you're not learning anything right now.
Ryan's saying, flag football. Noah, did you have the take on Beck and Minshew? Was that you I was talking to out there on the sidelines today?
Yeah. Yep.
And you saw there was a little of a distinct difference between the vet of 8 years and the rookie coming in after a 6-year college stint?
Definitely. The ball definitely flung out of Minshew's hand with a little bit more haste and a little bit more pace than Beck. And to be fair, Beck is a lot larger guy, so his arms are longer. His motions is probably going to take a little bit longer, but there's still that that quickness that you can see from Gardner just being like, yeah, you can tell he's played the NFL game because that he's playing probably game speed right now, even though the coaches are like, oh, do 20%. He's probably Minshewing it up. Just like, I'm going to go 100 all the time.
That's my survival tactic in the NFL.
So, like, you can tell that game speed and then versus Beck's speed for sure.
I mean, if you're living in an RV, though, you might be a little twitchy, too. That might be part of it.
I mean, that's how Gardner Minshew, who goes from a day 3 pick after being a journeyman collegiate player, having to go from the JUCO ranks to East Carolina to Washington State, to just get an NFL look and then have staying power. Like, you do what has kept you here for so long. And I'm sure it's, playing at that pace and being able to operate that way. And this is an opportunity for him. It's funny, like, you talk about, like, I try to get an answer out of LaFleur, just an update on Jeremiyah Love. Have we seen growth from Love or anything like that? And he's just like, it's a running back in shorts. Like, there's not much to report as far as Jeremiyah Love, unfortunately. Like, I'll ask the question and I'll look foolish in front of the new head coach, but like, and he said this himself. It's a glorified passing camp until you kind of get to training camp and you start to wear shells and start to hit people. But Jeremiyah loves doing everything within his power to do things that. There are still some moments where you'll see him and like Noah was talking about the difference between Beck and Minshew. Like there's a difference between Love and other running backs that you've watched in your life, which is good.
Yeah, well, and on the Minshew front too, I'm sure he understands there's an opportunity to make an impression right now because he's
Yeah.
getting all those reps in voluntary workouts. So I'm sure that's part of it. And yeah, I mean, physically, Jeremiyah Love's going to stand out compared to everybody, especially when you're wearing shorts and the legs are showing. Like that is a physical specimen, and you're well aware of that. But also for these rookies, there is even in shorts, there's a learning curve as to what it is to go out there and practice as an NFL player compared to what it was in college. So some of this is great for them because they're just starting to understand the expectations and what it is like to go out there day in day out as a representative of an NFL club. And that's a lot of this as well, as them getting ingratiated with these vets, learning the locker room, learning what it's like to be just out there. And that's where I think the benefit comes for a Carson Beck, a Jeremiyah Love, is more of that understanding than necessarily the specifics they're going through on the field right now.
Right. And like everybody who wants to kind of expedite this Beck thing, it doesn't feel like the Cardinals are there yet. And that's the case, with Love, who I think probably and rightfully so, being the third overall pick, is leading the pack and as far as opportunities, as far as practice goes. But like Basantes and Beck, Caleb Proctor, and as you look at you can name everybody, all the members of the 2026 draft class, and there's not a lot of them, and that was a point that LaFleur made. But these are guys that they're easing in, and there are veterans on this roster at every spot that they're also working to develop to elevate just the complete talent pool here in year one under Mike LaFleur.
Yeah, and honestly, I know as fans, you want to simplify it and just be like, "Hey, Beck, let's do it." It was never, even if you had drafted Ty Simpson, and even if you reached for him, you weren't just going to throw a guy in there and make him the de facto number one, especially with a Minshew and a Brissett on the roster. This was always going to be a process in terms of getting a guy ready. Now we'll see Carson Beck take a lot of snaps in preseason. They're going to give him every opportunity to get to that point. But I never expected day one that you were going to be putting him in there. And now, to your point, Jeremiyah Love, a little different, number 3 pick, a guy that people are, including Johnny, are talking about how high this ceiling is. I mean, I know Johnny's measured him for the gold jacket and has asked Fitz, what that'll be like for Jeremiyah Love. But there's expectations there when it comes to Jeremiyah Love. So you understand why he'd be more, getting more work early on and in the preseason and in training camp. Where Beck, he's going to have to earn all that.
Some good points from our guy Espo. Ryan agrees. Espo logic so refreshing. You're hired. That's right. Get in here every day. Add it to your long list of duties here at PHNX Sports. I agree, and I think that's why the Brissett thing. I'm not. I don't let it overtake me as far as him missing these voluntary OTAs. And mandatory will be a different discussion, right? I think that's another checkpoint here during this offseason. But like there are jobs that can't be won right now, but there are investments that have been made in key players that I think as long as they just kind of acclimate, take their time and do the right things and or do what I've asked of them. Once you get to training camp, that's where that urgency starts to kind of take precedent. And that's where it's like, okay, can Basantes take a starting role in this offense? Can Jeremiyah Love do it? Can Carson Beck do it? Can Caleb Proctor do it? That's when like jobs are going to be won and lost. Jobs aren't being won and lost right now, especially when guys can't even go full tilt here. So I think that's important as much as we want to start to crown people, winners of different position battles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm helping my daughter learn how to ride her bike right now, and that's where we are with the Cardinals rookies. You got the hand still on the back seat there, and you're helping them through during voluntary OTAs. When training camp comes, those training wheels are off, the hands off, and if you crash, well, that's on you at that point. So that's the point of the off season that we're in. It's just those reps that preparedness.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's a very anti-delayed gratification world we live in. People want everything and they want it now, and it's right there usually at your fingertips. Like, we can give you footage of these players as far as them going out and outright winning jobs. That is a little bit longer of a process, but it's been fun having our guy Espo on the show. Of course, check out Southwest Bias tomorrow at 11, and of course PHNX Suns at 3 o'clock. You're regimented now. You're just like a 9 to 5er now without the Suns season being in full swing.
Yeah, I get to be like you guys when it's not those 17 Sundays. I get to enjoy an afternoon here and there and have a regular schedule.
Well, thanks for letting us
all the GM work.
Thanks for letting us rob one of your afternoons at home, but appreciate you joining us. Nice little, is that a Copper State Collector Phoenix behind you?
It is. He printed it out after the draft for me and thought, you know what, I'll hang it up in the studio here. So.
Looks great, man. Well, thanks for joining us, Espo. He exits. We get to your super chats now. Let's wrap things up real quickly as you guys crushed it all day in the chat. Don't forget to hit that like button. What do we got, Noah, from those who've chimed in throughout the show? We'll start. How about with Corey? Corey, $4.99. Cut Brissett and use that money to add another year to Sweat's contract with more guaranteed money. We're going to add a fifth year to Josh Sweat's contract with more guaranteed money. He's got a ton of guaranteed money left. That's also another angle to this that I think is important not to overlook is, the $41 million that he had guaranteed in his $76+ million deal, he's still, a chunk of that is this season. So then you'd be like trading somebody, sure, for an asset, like a draft pick, probably a decent draft pick, but you'd have to eat up some dead money there. Just don't see any reasoning behind it. Like, you see the Brissett thing, and I saw somebody call it a Hail Mary for Brissett. I completely agree with that. I think this is a bit of a Hail Mary in the own right for Josh Sweat, to where he might just be trying to see, like, could I get onto a team with big, higher expectations in 26? Or, is it, do I have to be a part of and go through this rebuild here, but still be paid handsomely and get a ton of playing time? And there's familiarity with Rollis. Roberto jumping in. Roberto Calamare. Let's see. Here's my 2 cents. $5 to Johnny's dismay. This is a transition year. If people don't want to be here, then ship them off. We are building for 27. So I don't think you're wrong, and everybody sees it that way. I mean, there's a big contingent in this fan base that's saying team tank. Everybody gets the assignment. Yeah, just tank on and like cut bait, tank on this and that. And they understand, I'm sure, to a point, like who would get caught in the wake of that and whose jobs it would cost at the end of the day. But those coaches, those executives, they have a job to do. They're still employed, and they still should have a goal of trying to put this team in a position for success. Like, Monti Ossenfort can't be general managing to set up the next general manager for success. And Nick Rollis, being one of 32 defensive coordinators, like, he has to put together, good tape from his defenses and rebound from a historically bad defensive performance in order to get his next opportunity. So as much as that might be the case, like, the people inside that building have jobs to do. And, cutting a guy like Josh Sweat makes Ossenfort, Rollis's, and everybody involved, makes their job that much harder. Like, there's just no in-house options right now beyond Josh Sweat as far as proven commodity getting to the quarterback. And like, what are you going to get with second round pick in the first couple of years? It's going to match what Josh Sweat's going to give you for the next 3 seasons of his deal. But I get it. Like, you speak for a lot of the fan base. Thank you, Roberto. Our guy, Steven Jackson. Hope you're doing well, my guy. Was just in your neck of the woods over the weekend. Would you rather trade Benson or Connor to the Packers? They are in the win now mode, and I think we'd get solid return for Connor. That's interesting. I was talking to some of the Cardinals reporters out there today. I mean, if you were to ask Jonathan Gannon who they should go get, I think without a shadow of a doubt, he's saying go get James Conner. Like, go get James Conner. Had Jonathan Gannon say Conner's the blueprint, what you would want from a player. If Matt LaFleur is asking his 2 cents on it, I think he would say go get James Conner, despite him being 31 years old, and make him more money than Trey Benson. Not by much now that he restructured. But there's just so much unknown as far as Trey Benson. And I think Gannon, if he was, really asked to be transparent about it, he'd have to say the same thing. Like, as much as you like the skill set, you like the size, you like the 4.3 940, you like the collegiate career at Florida State, Trey Benson is a bit of an unknown and unproven, or what he's shown so far at the NFL level hasn't impressed, even though like you could chalk injuries into that. I think James Conner, no doubt about it. Great question. Desert Vulture was crushing it. Back-to-back days, Desert Vulture has donated some membership supporter options to all of our friends out there. So if you did receive a membership for PHNX Sports here to the channel, give our friend Desert Vulture a thank you. Tip of the cap from me and Noah. It's unbelievable. You're channeling your inner Ranger, and it's like you and Ranger and all you great people out there that continue to grow this community. You're putting us on your back and doing it, and we're thankful for that, grateful for that. Eric Christensen, 7 months of membership. Love that loyalty. I'm ready to move off Jacoby and start Minshew or Beck. Not alone there. You're certainly not alone. I haven't gotten to that yet. I mean, as much as I think it's sad, the optics are horrible. You've got a backup quarterback trying to hold you hostage. But like truly what Jacoby Brissett is missing as far as the OTAs and the voluntary stuff is nothing that's really kind of keeping this team behind. If anything, he's doing himself a disservice and opening up and keeping the door ajar for those other 2 guys to take his job away. So like if anybody's going to get hurt in this, it's going to be Jacoby Brissett. And the Cardinals, the damage is going to be minimal to non-existent. But appreciate that. Thank you to everybody in the chat for your super chats. Thanks to the GM Espo for jumping on. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to PHNX Sports. And we've got a brand new show lined up for tomorrow. Who knows what this team's going to provide for us between now and then. Got some great guest hosts coming in to finish out the week. Excited to do it. But for Noah, I'm Bo. Make sure to follow along at PHNX_Cardinals for everything that's going to hit the Twitter streets and Instagram. But until then, have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you Thursday right here at PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.